The alarm on my wrist screen turned red before I even reached the negotiation hall, and my hearts began to race faster than they ever had in my life. I am Vessia Thalarin, third daughter of the Thalarin line, and in that moment, walking through the cold corridors of Threndel Station, I did not feel like a princess. I felt like prey. Daniel walked 3 steps behind me, as he always did. He was my assigned human escort, a man I had spent 6 weeks trying not to trust. My people had taught me that humans were dangerous, that they solved every problem with their fists, that they could not be trusted near royalty. So I kept him at a distance. I gave him orders instead of conversation. I never once asked him his story. That night, everything I believed was about to break apart. The trade envoys from the Karvox Alliance were waiting inside the hall, their long robes glowing faintly under the blue station lights. I bowed to them out of duty, not warmth. Something about the room felt wrong. The air was too still. The guards at the door were too quiet. I glanced at Daniel, and for the first time, I saw something in his eyes that I had never noticed before. He was not looking at the envoys. He was looking at their aide, a thin man standing near the back wall with his hand resting too casually inside his coat. I opened my mouth to ask what was wrong, but before I could speak, the aide pulled out a small device and pointed it directly at me. I heard a sharp whine building inside it, a sound that made my whole body freeze. I did not understand what it was, only that it was aimed at my chest, and that I had no time left to move. Daniel moved faster than I thought any living being could move. He crossed the space between us in less than a heartbeat, threw his arm across my shoulder, and turned his body so that he stood directly in front of the weapon instead of me. There was a flash of light, a burst of heat, and a sound like the air itself had been torn open. He staggered back into me, and we both fell to the floor together. For a moment, I could not understand what had happened. Then I saw the mark on his shoulder. The fabric of his uniform burned away, and I understood that the bolt meant for me had struck him instead. Station guards rushed forward and pinned the aide against the wall before he could fire again. Other guests screamed and scattered toward the exits. None of that mattered to me. All I could see was Daniel, lying against the floor with his hand pressed weakly against his own shoulder, trying to push himself back up as if his first thought, even now, was to protect me again. I knelt beside him, my hands shaking as I tried to remember anything useful from the emergency training I had once considered a waste of time. I pressed my palm against the wound, the way I had seen human medics do in old recordings, though I had never imagined I would need to use that memory for someone I cared about. "Why?" I said, my voice breaking in a way I did not recognize. "Why would you do that? You do not owe me anything. You barely even like me." He laughed, though it clearly cost him something to do it. "Wrong job description," he said quietly. "If I only protect the people I like." Before I could answer, alarms began sounding through the entire station, deep and urgent, echoing down every corridor. A voice announced that the station's shields had been compromised and that an unknown ship had entered docking range without authorization. My first thought was that the attack on me had only been the beginning of something much larger. 2 more guards ran past us, shouting for medical support, but I refused to let go of Daniel's shoulder as we waited. His eyes stayed open, locked on mine, and even injured, even weak, he kept whispering instructions to me. "Stay low. Watch the doorway. Do not trust anyone who has not been cleared by station security." Even wounded, his mind never stopped working to keep me safe. The medical team finally arrived and lifted him onto a stretcher. I walked beside him through the corridor, refusing every order from my own guards to return to my quarters. As we moved, the lights above us flickered, and the entire station shuddered from an impact somewhere far below. Whoever had sent that unknown ship was not finished yet. We reached the medical bay just as another tremor rocked the station, throwing supply carts across the room and knocking 2 nurses off their feet. Daniel gripped my hand tightly, even through the pain, and told me to get down. I refused. I could not leave him again, not after what he had just done for me. Through the reinforced windows of the medical bay, I saw it, a dark shape moving closer to the station, its hull marked with symbols I did not recognize. My mind raced through every possibility. Was this connected to the aide who attacked me? Was this an old enemy of my family, finally making a move they had been planning for years? I had no answers, only fear, and the sound of Daniel's voice trying to calm me, even as machines monitored his own injury beside him. The chief medic, a calm woman named Grace, worked quickly to stabilize him. She explained that if the bolt had struck slightly differently, he would not have survived. I felt my whole body go cold at those words. He had known that risk in the instant he chose to move in front of me, and he had chosen it anyway, without even a second of hesitation. Outside, station security tried to establish contact with the approaching ship, but there was no response. My father's private guard arrived moments later, rushing into the medical bay with weapons ready, prepared to evacuate me to a secure section of the station. I refused to leave without knowing that Daniel would be safe as well. After a tense argument, they agreed to move both of us together. We were escorted through a narrow service corridor meant for emergencies, lit only by dim orange lights along the floor. Every few seconds, the entire station groaned under new pressure from whatever was happening outside. I held onto Daniel's uninjured arm as the guards led us forward, my legs unsteady, my mind spinning with fear I had never experienced before, not even during formal threats against my family. At last, we reached a reinforced control room, deep inside the station, built to withstand exactly this kind of emergency. Screens along the walls showed the unknown ship finally breaking away and retreating into open space, chased off by a coordinated response from station defense units. The immediate danger had passed, but the fear in my chest did not leave so quickly. I turned to Daniel, still lying carefully on the stretcher beside me, his face pale, but his eyes steady. For 6 weeks, I had treated him as nothing more than a duty assigned to me by an alliance I did not choose. I had judged him before I ever gave him the chance to speak for himself. Now I understood how wrong I had been. "You saved my life today," I said quietly, "and I never even thanked you properly for anything you have done since the day we met." He managed a small, tired smile. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "That's the job." "No," I said, shaking my head. "It is more than that. I saw it in your eyes the moment that weapon appeared. You did not think about the job. You thought about me." He did not answer right away. Instead, he reached out and gently took my hand, holding it the same way he had once caught my arm on an icy staircase weeks earlier. Careful, steady, as if I were something worth protecting no matter the cost to himself. In the days that followed, Daniel recovered slowly under Grace's care, and I stayed by his side more often than protocol allowed. My advisors questioned why I spent so much time with my human escort, but I no longer cared what they thought. I had spent my whole life believing certain stories about humans simply because I had been told them, without ever testing those stories against the truth standing right in front of me. When Daniel was finally strong enough to walk again, he insisted on returning to his post beside me, despite my protests that he should rest longer. I did not argue for long. I understood now that protecting me was not simply his duty. It was something he had chosen, again and again, long before that weapon was ever aimed at me. Years later, after countless negotiations, after new alliances formed, and old fears finally faded, I still remember that night on Threndel Station more clearly than any other moment in my life. I remember the fear, the fire, and the sound of my own voice breaking as I said his name for the first time like it truly mattered. I was taught to fear humanity long before I ever met one. I was taught that their strength was something to guard against, never something to trust. But Daniel taught me otherwise, not through words, but through the simple, powerful choice he made in a single heartbeat, standing between me and a danger he did not have to face. I know better now. Strength is not something to fear. Sometimes, it is the very thing that saves you.